What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined by Nancy Guettier, who is an emerging author of children's books and is committed to inspiring and encouraging kids to enjoy learning new things. With a background of more than 25 years in the children's industry, Nancy has provided retail visual merchandising for Gap Kids and Baby Gap. Nancy was inspired to write books that are not only appealing and whimsical, but are also providing educational content and a spiritual theme. Most importantly, she feels strongly about offering kids the opportunity to learn about new topics. Well, Nancy Guettier, welcome to the show.
Yes, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Now, this is, we were talking off air, and this is an interview that I haven't really prepared much for. I actually didn't know this interview was going to be happening today. I couldn't even find you on my inbox to begin with. So this is a bit off the cuff in a sense, but I think that your story fits in with with a lot of the things that I've discussed with people as well, and that you're quite much a living proof of it as well. In the sense of law of attraction, visualization, calling into life the type of life that you wish to have. So before we get into what life you've created for yourself, and now obviously you're an author of children's books now, but this never used to be the direction that you were headed in. Just tell us about you always used to do things that you'd love to do. That was what you were sort of brought to believe in. Do what you love to do. Am I right there?
Yeah, but it wasn't always the case. So growing up, I had wonderful parents, wonderful childhood, and the house was always filled with music and creativity. Yet my parents were always like, get a real job, like a secretary. And I just always, thought that there was something more to life than just doing kind of basic jobs. Not that there's anything wrong with being a secretary, but it just didn't feel like something that I wanted to do the way my thoughts were and how I loved music and songs. So, on my journey through life after college, I worked in advertising because that's a creative field, but it was very cutthroat and hard for me. So then I decided at this young age just to take a job that I loved, even though it didn't bring a lot of money. So it was dressing mannequins for the Gap. And that's where I learned that doing what you love becomes something that you love what you do, and then the money will come. So the goal really wasn't about the money. It was just about being happy and doing something I really enjoyed. And it turned into a 10-year career. It moved me out to California to work in their corporate office, where I got to work with really inspirational people like Mickey Drexler, who really was the person who turned the Gap around. And then it just kept going. Then I worked for Pottery Barn with more influential people there to really, and they loved my ideas. And so I really found a home there.
Just going back to that job, dressing mannequins, did you actually enjoy that job?
I did. I still to this day always say that was my best job. It was kind of like artwork. So I did all the windows for the Gap kids in New York. So I had like 15 stores, and I felt like that was my artwork. I was getting to share with the New York citizens, how I felt the kids should be dressing that day. And, so it was
Wow.
I turned it into something more than it is. You could have looked at it as, hey, you just dress the mannequins. But I looked at it as, this is my canvas. And, so it's also the way I look at things that make it
okay. So you loved it. It was better than the job you had, which you didn't enjoy so much. But this was something you really had a passion for. But I bet you couldn't have seen the journey that it was about to take you.
No, I had no idea. That's why even today, this is a good surprise that we weren't prepared. Life brings you surprises. So I had no idea. 7 months later into the job, they said, would you like to move to the corporate office in San Francisco? And I was like blown away. I'm like, sure. I was brave. I had to face fears. I didn't know, California, they just had an earthquake at that time. And I love New York. So, there were a lot of things I had to face, and I went bravely into this journey. And again, there were more surprises. It went so far to take me internationally. I always dreamed of traveling. And the job, Gap became so successful during that time period that I got to go to London and France and Paris and teach people how to dress mannequins and do visual merchandising, worldwide. So it was way more than I expected.
You travelled all over the world with this. Now, you told me off air as well about your dad was someone who said to you as well about never giving up.
Yeah, my dad, he was a really inspirational man. He dreamed of being a ball player. He was actually even got to do tryouts in New York for, I think it was the Brooklyn Dodgers at the time. But then he was drafted to the Army and lost his arm at 20 years old. And, his mom thought, oh, no, what is he going to be, an elevator operator? And my dad was like, no way. Even though he couldn't be a ball player anymore, he became a part of this organization called JOB, Just One Break, and helped handicapped people get into the workforce where they could feel proud. And he ended up climbing the ladder at Eastern Airlines. And, so he's always been my inspiration, and never give up and never stop dreaming.
Yeah, that's pretty inspirational. Now, where were you based as a family? Was that in New York?
Yeah, I was born in New York, so my dad worked for New York, but then he was transferred to Miami. So I grew up in Florida in the early days. I felt like we were the early settlers. It was like cows and open land, and another experience for me to being taken out of our comfort zone, put in a new place. And but we thrive as a family. And again, he would always fill the house with music, and my mom with her musicals, and even my dad, always trying to find what was the best fit for us, either with sports or music. He was always there to encourage us. So I like to keep that story going with my kids as well.
Absolutely. So has singing always been in your blood then?
Always, we love the Beatles. My dad always played the Beatles in the car, and I even named my son Jude, and I have a dog named Ringo. So it's like,
I love
that's
it.
how
That's
much it's in
great.
my blood to sing.
Right. Okay. But in that process of being at Gap and going on this journey, singing has it sort of taken a back step. It hasn't been at the forefront.
Well, it's funny. So then after the Gap, I could kind of sense when Gap was making a shift. Mickey Drexler left, and then I left. When your mentors kind of leave, you got to move on too. He went back to New York, but I didn't want to leave the Bay Area. So I moved into working at the Pottery Barn. So I had a great opportunity again on the ground floor with Pottery Barn Kids and Pottery Barn Teen, helping to from the ground up create this organization again and they really embraced my ideas.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry. What is the Pottery Barn for those who don't
Yeah,
know?
Pottery Barn is, I think we're going to soon be in the UK. I'm not with them anymore, but it's home furnishings for kids. So Gap was dressing them in their everyday outfits, and Pottery Barn Kids is creating dream rooms. So from all their furniture, starting at nursery, from your cribs to your big kid bed, and then onto your teenage room. So I was there to help parents create these beautiful lifestyles for their kids.
Right. Okay. Now. Okay. From kids' furniture or kids' rooms and everything else. How did the first book come into play then? And at that time, what was going on? Where was the law of attraction in that sense, and what were you following to get you to that point, and what was going on in your life? Because I know there's a massive sort of backstory there as well.
Yeah, I was following this dream too. It was interesting to me that once again the career took me into another kid's world. So maybe because I'm so kid-like in my thought and really pure, and hey, I could do anything, take on the world. So I thought it was interesting that once again I'm helping parents and kids create a lifestyle, because I do believe if your environment is set, you're better set up for success. So I didn't lose interest in my career because it kept fueling more, because I was doing something else. I was building upon it. So the books came about. I was trying to have children, and unfortunately that wasn't working out for me. So I had to look to different outlets. So I adopted my kids, and that was, again, another scary turn in my life. But I learned something beautiful out of the experience. I got to be there for the birth of all of my children. I had an instant family. It came really fast. I really just wanted to have one kid, and it turned into three in a really short amount of time. So now I wasn't just working in the kids industry. Now I had this beautiful family to.
Right, and was this when you was with your husband that this
Yeah,
family came
yeah.
about?
During that time period, I got married. Again, I was visualizing the dream, married, somebody I thought was going to be perfect. But, sometimes things don't always work out, and it's how you deal with those problems. I could have, been very devastated. It is a hard, both, not being able to have your biological children, and not being able to be with the person that you thought you were with. No discount to him. It's just, you never know, it wasn't right. I didn't look at it as, oh, this is a terrible thing. It's just, okay, you go on your way, I go on mine. Let's co-parent, but I need to find someone that really understands me and who I am to live the life I want. I didn't want to lie and fit myself into that little box of being the perfect wife. So it was another challenge to face. And but this was after. So we adopted the children. That's when I started fueling my creativity. It was really based on them. They kept feeding me just through the wonderment of what they saw in their eyes. Kind of fed me more to expand.
Well, it kept you going, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and it's funny because people say, "How do you do it?" With all these kids and the job, and it's funny. So what I also learned in my, I call myself my own experiment through my life, is the more you do, the more you can do. And the more they were growing, the more I was growing. And it's funny now that I co-parent and the kids aren't always here, I have more creative thoughts when they are around me and there's kind of controlled chaos than when the house is silent. It's funny that you feed off of them. And
Isn't that that's incredible, isn't it? And you probably you probably thought you'd enjoy the silence, but actually it's a bit it's a bit too quiet sometimes.
Yeah. So it's, and you feed. That's why you feed off everyone to create something, and they really inspired the books. The first book I wrote for my daughter, Genevieve, and she loved pink like a lot of girls do, and so I wanted to come up with a story that wasn't just too fluffy about girls who like pink. I wanted to empower her as a woman and raise her more, not as two girly girls. So I wanted to come up with a story about color that shares her story, but also opens her world to different colors in the universe.
Right. And how many years ago did the first book, before it was published, just for you to write it and to have it, not even as a book to be published? Yeah. When did the actual idea come about?
Yeah, it was about 6 years ago. Again, we just sat in her room and together we made the story. And she got out her watercolors and started drawing the pictures to mirror the words that I was saying. So we created this book together, and then I would just staple the binding, and I'm like, look, we made a book. And it also, for my kids, they think they can write a book too, which you can. Anybody can write a book. So we wrote a book out of paper. And then I'm like, wow, this story is really good. And that's when I came up with the idea to reach out to the art community and get a real artist to, not that my daughter's not a real artist, but someone in that world to recreate the book. And that's, so it started as a journey, my daughter and I together.
Yeah, so you were basically self-published to begin with in that sense.
Yeah, the first book I did, because it's not easy to break into publishing. So I did send it to a few publishing places, but they were like, reading the text and not seeing the pictures is how they wanted it. But to me, it's a holistic thing. You have to see the pictures and the words for me to sell it. So I decided, hey, let me do it myself. And that's how the book came to be. I found, again, then I meditated. How am I going to do this? I don't know anything about book publishing. So I meditated on it. I started really following the law of attraction even more during this time period. My marriage was that's where it was kind of taking a turn. So I kind of went inward. I still wanted to stay positive for my kids. So I started following the law of attraction and meditating. And it's funny, the more you put the positive thoughts in, positive things happened. And people just started appearing on my path that were in publishing. The more I spoke about it in a positive way, people were coming to me, and someone hooked me up with a printer, and then I had the book made. I have it here. So I don't know if you can see that. So that's the very first book.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's quite big, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, we've been putting it on the screen as well. But just going back to the meditation, when you meditated, what came in that space? What was happening when you was meditating? What were you listening to, in the sense of what voice was coming to you, if there was one, or what visualizations were coming to you?
Yeah, well, I would put on really soothing music, and what I would do, I would kind of chant to myself, like, take people off my path that don't belong on it, and bring the people onto my path that are going to be positive and help me move along my journey, and not in a selfish way. I love helping people to realize their dreams. So getting rid of all the toxic, all the naysayers, because it's easy to say, like, you can't do that. You've never written a book before, so bringing on people who were positive. And so I would meditate to, get people off my path that don't belong there anymore, bring me people that are going to help me along this journey. And it was like magic. I would do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that meditation process, though, was there a voice coming to you? Was it a knowing? What would happen? Or would it just be you just sitting? There would be nothing come to you, but it just fine-tuned you to be fine-tuned into what you want. I mean, you tell me. Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of times you're supposed to be silent and a voice comes to you, but it was really my voice. And the more positive I was talking internally, I do it inside, talking internally to myself, the more positive my words became to myself. And then again, once you feel it, you are that, you believe it. And I also was following like the power of I am. So it's whatever you attach to your I ams, that's what you're going to be. So I am successful. I am a good mother. I am going to be, I am a songwriter. And so I just kept, even repeating those in the morning while I was getting ready for work, and I could take on the world. And the more I did this, it was almost like I could see so clearly, and I could maneuver easier because I was more positive in all of my interactions, that it radiated into everything I did. My job became easier. Decision making became easier. Raising the kids became easier. And and so I would just continue to, pump yourself up with positives, be around positive people, and learn how to deal with those hurdles in a better way than.
Absolutely. And was this a daily meditation?
It was a daily meditation. I would get up before my kids, because people were like, how do you do it? Because a lot of people would get to work late who didn't even have kids. And there I am, all ready to go. So I would get up even earlier, which is hard. I would get up at like 5 a.m, so a few hours before the kids. I put on my meditation music, or, I could YouTube The Power of I Am, or some, meditational sounds. And then I would just, with my coffee as I'm doing my morning routine, just, pump myself up with positives, and even look at everything as a positive. Doing the laundry, I'm doing it for my kids to make their life better. They have clean clothes. Every task to me had turned into a positive part of the day, instead of, oh God, I have all these things to do. I made them important.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That is so amazing. But okay, and let's put this for single people as well, because obviously you're not just gone through a divorce, but that divorce was still there in the background in a sense, and there is a healing period no matter what. Yeah. And pre and after. What about being on your own? Was that hard sometimes, in the sense of loneliness and everything else? And how did meditation get you through that side as well?
So again, it's a devastating blow to and I tried really hard. It's like, oh my God, I have these 3 kids, and even their journey started with adoption, and now I'm going to add this to their story. But I wanted to make sure it was positive to them, so I didn't. I took my negative, like, wow, this just happened to me, and instead of being really sad or complaining about what happened with my relationship, I started putting them into song. So I took guitar lessons, and first I learned all the Beatles songs as best as I could, and then I started putting my pain and my words. I'm like, people could grow from what I have to say, but instead of complaining about it, I turned it into lyrics and started writing them in songs. So the guitar became my best friend. And I didn't need a lot of people around comforting me. I found the comfort through the songs, and then again turned it into an opportunity to bring other people, now like-minded people, which I always wanted to bring the music. I didn't realize the music was going to come so much later in my life, that it became, after the divorce, that's where my musical career or venture started sprouting. And the songs just kept pouring out.
Yeah. Well, and you said, but back then, about the meditation, you said about, you just heard your voice. Well, maybe that is the most powerful voice to hear, because if you're not in charge, or if it isn't your voice and it's something else, maybe that's your higher self coming through, which is you.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because when I was a child, my mom, she actually thought I was mute. She would clap her hands in front of me to make me cry, and I had these big eyes, and I would just like to observe. So I think the first part of my life really was observing, and I was a very Zen child to start with. I am a very positive person, so it's not strange to me that I'm a happy person, but dealing with all the things, really, I think my voice did finally emerge. Working in corporate America, it was my voice, but it was their voice was more powerful. So even though my ideas were there, it was ultimately the ideas of the company. And so I never really had the voice that was my voice. And I think after the divorce and pouring it into my music, like you're saying, my voice is finally coming out, and I'm not scared to share my thoughts and These are your
No,
personal things you're putting into your songs, and they're
of course.
that sharing process. So I like what you're saying, that my voice emerged from the meditations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's such a wise part of you that came out to give yourself healing, and it's always there, and you're tapping into it. So, if you're looking for God,
Yeah,
you found it within
yeah,
yourself,
yeah.
really.
And
You know.
it doesn't stop. There was a time period where I did stop meditating every day, and you do feel it sink. So it is something you have to feed your brain, you have to feed your thoughts every day, because now I'm on this new journey, which is very terrifying. So I did resign
Yeah.
from corporate America to kind of follow my own dreams, because now I said, Nancy, this is where you have to, now you did the work, now really follow through.
Right, right, right. So yeah. Let's catch up now a little bit as well. You're a published author.
Yes. Yeah, I have five
Yep.
books, yeah, published.
Right, and there could be more.
Yeah, I'm working on a new series now.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, there could be more. Absolutely, I thought there would be. um, okay, so how has it gone from the book, sorry, to this new film, which you've paid to put together, called Mermaids on
Yeah.
Mars? So the Mermaids on Mars was a
Yeah.
book. How the heck has that turned into this film? And what was that process? You was working with local puppeteers, and just explain it
Well,
to us.
I kind of always work out of order. I didn't know it was going to become a film, but when growing up, I really loved musicals. Willy Wonka was my favorite, and Wizard of Oz, and so I always loved musicals. And I was trying to think, how could I merge my music and my book? So that I started meditating on that. Like, how could I bring them together and do something I really, really love? Because books were fun, but really music was my passion. So I was sitting outside at night, and the start, sometimes it's really foggy here in San Francisco, but the stars were just out, and I had my guitar outside, and I thought, mermaids on Mars, looking at the sky, I'm like, there's so much more out there. So I got on this theory that, there's more than just us. The universe is so big, there's more out there. So the first song was looking at the stars and believing that there's more out there. So then I love the title Mermaids on Mars so much, but the book was, very simple, for young kids, that I wanted to expand on it and bring in more people into this world and have bigger messages about there is more out there. We're not alone. There is a higher power. Believing in more. So the songs for the musical came first. I just sat there. I think in a week I wrote pretty much the whole songs for the musical. And then I said, oh, I got to write the script. So I brought in my cousin, who's a screenplay writer, and together we created the story. So I had the story and I had the music. So I had to meditate some more. How do you make a film? I don't know. And I didn't know who to turn to. So I meditated again. And then Google is amazing. So I Googled low budget animation in the Bay Area. I couldn't use Pixar because they're expensive and they don't like outside projects, especially from someone who's like, I'm a mom and I just wrote a musical. You're crazy, lady. So I had to do the research, and I was so blessed to find Athena Studio. I called the owner, and he picked up the phone. And at first, too, we thought, well, it's cute, but let's so I pushed on. I said, well, can we meet? I'm better face to face than on the phone. And I had beautiful presentation of my storyboard. I had a soundtrack, even though the songs weren't perfectly done. And by the end of that meeting, he was like, sign me up. And so together, he helped bring me with the beautiful animators, the puppeteers, and bringing stop motion back to life, which I love things from the past. And this art form is something I really loved. And we made it happen together.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the quality of the production of the trailer, it's done really, really well. Well, now you're going around. I mean, this is pretty incredible. Now you're going around the film festivals. What is meditation telling you right now about where this is going?
Well, now I meditate. Well, first, bringing that group of people, I was really even blown away by the quality, like you're saying. I was really hoping for, my expectations, they totally blew away my expectations. And then, so it also showed me, when you meditate, you bring people that are like-minded. And I was so blessed to have people who weren't really in it for the money, but for the project and the quality of the project. So I had people that worked on James and the Giant Peach, Coraline, Corpse Bride. I'm like, what? Like, those are some of my favorite stop motion animation, and they're going to work with me, the new kid on the block. So that's, totally was like amazing to me through the meditation process. And then going to the festivals again, I just meditated that people just like it. I wasn't even looking for a big award, but the first one up at the Carmel Film Festival, because you're there with some heavy hitters. They're big time movies were shown there that are going to be at the Oscars this year, and my movie made an impact and got Best Animation first festival out. So I was. I got to believe it and achieve it. So I just will keep on meditating.
Yeah. Well, you don't know where this is going to go. I mean, whether a network picks something up or...
Yeah, I'm learning that's very difficult.
Possibilities.
So it's not like Nancy. A lot of people think Nancy's on easy street. It's not like I'm Dorothy walking through. It is like Dorothy. I'm on that yellow brick road and I'm running into trees, throwing, apples at me and stuff. Crazy witches trying to get me, but you have to stay calm. A lot of doors closing, big film people like Pixar, they have inside people to write, even though they may love it, they have their own crew. So that's my next journey. I don't know where it's going, but in my heart, I say to myself, Nancy, if all it is something that you spread some joy during the festivals, I have this thing to leave for my children. And it's a nice piece to help promote my books. That's fine, but I do believe with the messages, if it was on the big screen, done as a full feature, I feel like it would be a really departure from a lot of the films today and bring out some bigger topics like we're talking about, believing in yourself and dreams, not just fantasy-based too, but reality.
Yeah, that's true because you've actually put a lot of spirituality into this film. It's and you've done that on purpose.
Yes, I did. I do that on purpose. My mom, she's like I call it my freelance spiritual advisor. My whole life, I pretty much talk to my mom every day. She's not just like Catholic. She's just a very spiritual. She's open to the universe. So she really taught me every day about believing in yourself, praying for the people who hurt you, like being really positive on all angles on your approach. So, I believe the film's going to find a home. I will try my best, but you can't kick and scream and to make stuff happen. So I do have to, again, let it go and see and hope for the best. But I believe it will, be it's a special film, and I'd like to share.
Yes, absolutely. And again, you didn't study to be a producer. I mean, you had to learn to be a producer, I'm guessing, but you didn't study for any of this. And there's a message in that as well, I'm sure.
I've always had creative thought. It's hard because my parents, again, growing up, they didn't have money to send me to art school or they didn't even look at that as something to do. Like, they're very artistic, my whole family, but that's a hobby. And, they were hardworking Americans, in the Depression, so to pay money to feed something they think I have naturally was silly. And because I couldn't sing like Barbara Streisand, my mom's like, we're not going to pay for you to get voice lessons. They're very realistic, even though they love to hear me sing and stuff. They didn't realize music can be different. It doesn't always have to be perfect, like Adele. You can have other sounds. So, I had to draw upon all of my own experiences. Dressing mannequins is an art form, and then visual merchandising, which I tapped in before it really became something you study at school. I feel like I was the pioneer of visual merchandising. So taking my logical side and my creative side, I helped build a lot of tools that visual merchandisers use today. And then that's like directing. a film. I had to put big elaborate sets to show my ideas at Pottery Barn. It wasn't just here on paper. I had to build really huge set designs, kind of like in a movie, to show this is what next Christmas is going to look like in a child's room. So I work with set designers. I work with artists. I did the packaging. So taking all those functions I did for Pottery Barn and the Gap and just putting them into different application with books and film, it all really worked. So that was my training ground, the 25 years of package design, marketing, coming up with taglines, putting it all together with a nice bow, helped me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that as well. But again, yeah, as you said there, because now people study for what what you did, but you just did it. And I think there's a message in that sometimes there's so many rules on how we should do things. I know people have to study, and I'm not saying anything against going to college or university at all. But sometimes we there's different ways to do different things, and we don't have to go with what we're told the way to do it, and that there may be other ways to do things sometimes, cheaper ways as
exactly. And a lot of what I do is based on common sense. Like visual merchandising to me became very easy to, customer experience is really the whole goal. Is I have to make the customer excited to be in the store. So it's really like, well, what bothers you? So if something bothers me, I fix it, and it becomes an enjoyable experience. People who put on beautiful parties, it's the same thing as creating an environment in a store environment. It's, you set the table nice, you put the care into all of, the details. And so common sense really helped drive a lot of how I make my decisions, and it's kind of simple, breaking it down to simple parts.
Absolutely. And one thing you always did as well, you never went for the money, you went with what you loved, even though I'm guessing money, it was something you wanted to have, obviously.
We need money to live, but I remember I left advertising, which had high power potential money there, took a pay cut to dress mannequins. But then 7 months later, it turned into a corporate job, which I made money more than I ever thought I would during that career. And now I'm back down to, in a different place now, branching out on your own. Now it's, you're not getting the benefits, you're not getting this. So, I'm starting over again and trusting that, again, doing what I love will bring that.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that's so important, and knowing that the universe only has your best interest as well.
Yeah, and it's like even with relationships, I would never marry somebody for money, because then the money goes, then you're stuck with this person. Is this the person you want to be with, or is it the lifestyle they bring you because of the funds? And the same when you approach everything.
Well, yeah, and that thinking is different in different parts of the world. So, for example, if you take that thinking to China, for example, or Asia, then it's for, women over there, it's for the man to provide, and they may be in love with them, but if they don't provide, then that's, why go through a life of struggle, which is a little bit opposite to what you're saying. But do you know what I'm saying? Karmically, now using that word, it's different around the world sometimes, that understanding.
Yeah, and it's not easy to be that way, But I still, at the end of the day, would rather be with less. And you can. My mom always had this saying, I don't know where she got it from, but you're as rich as the things you could do without, because in wanting, there's no end. So I do try to live simple. I have a farmhouse in San Francisco. I don't have state-of-the-art stuff like most people. I've never Skyped before, is my first. So I keep it simple. And so you don't need as much. I like to walk to the store, kind of old-fashioned that way. But
no, I think that's great. I don't think that's old-fashioned. I think that's great. So don't no, absolutely, yeah, that's great. Okay, well, it sounds like a very nice place where you live then, because in my head I had you sort of near the. I don't know why I just kept seeing the San Francisco Bridge and stuff, but you're not quite that.
I'm not close to the bridge, but I could definitely get there pretty quick with the cable cars and or my car. But I live in Noe Valley. It's a really quiet little community. It's great for kids, and but the houses here are very old. It was built in 1900. I don't have a garage, so it kind of forces you to live simple. And which is
Cool.
great, because the less stuff I
Yeah.
have, the more I can, with my ideas can come out too. I'm not worrying about too many things.
I love that. I love that. Yep, yep, yep. That's future points for me as well. Yeah, I think I see my house with just bare no furniture in, probably just as long as it's got a TV there with a smart
There
TV.
you go. You don't
I'll
need
be
that
okay.
much.
Okay, what would you say then? In your journey, it could be the most important message to leave people with.
Well, to me, it's always follow your dreams, follow your heart. Be and just even being a good person. Like I think a lot of times it's like everybody talks about peace, but yet they can't even get along with their neighbors. It's really just start at home with creating the change, and then just listen to your heart and follow your dreams. It's really and then they'll manifest. I really believe in that story.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And oh yes, and your website as well.
Yeah, you could look at my books at nancylandkids.com, and you can see all the books that I have. And again, they're all educational, but whimsical. And then Mermaids on Mars, thefilm.com, and you could see if we're going to be at a film festival near you. Hopefully we'll be going international soon, and I'll get to meet you.
Excellent. Okay. Well, yeah. Hey, who knows? Who knows? You never know when paths are going to cross. I've always learnt the word "never say never" because every time I do, it happens.
I love
so
that.
You never know. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.